Hi, I'm Alan Henderson, Director at Erskine Owen, and we're really excited to launch the second property in our Daycare Property Fund. And that's got a forecast return of 6.25% per annum. That's the cash return, and that's paid out monthly. Today, I'm going to tell you about the property itself, take you through some finance information, discuss some of the questions that we're frequently getting asked, and then talk about how to invest. But let's talk about the property itself. It's at 18 Shakespeare Ave in Enderley in Hamilton, and we've purchased it for $5 million, and it has a independent valuation at that level as well. It's on land of roughly 2,500 square metres, and the building's floor area is 584 square metres. It's got annual rent of $306,000, and what we particularly like about this property is, which is very relevant for this environment, is that they're at CPI plus 1%, so that we've got some really great rental growth opportunity. The lease is 18 years from 13th of July 2020, and then there's 2 6-year right of renewals. So a really good property, quite new, and as we've talked about previously, we like the early childhood sector because of the substantial or significant funding that the government provides to this industry. And in our opinion, the government is unlikely to reduce funding because it's important in terms of allowing parents to get back into the workforce and contribute to the productive economy. And we've seen that during the COVID lockdowns that the government continued to pay out to operators revenue based on pre-lockdown child numbers. So it's been quite a resilient industry and one that we're keen to keep investing in. In terms of the building key features, it is a purpose-built centre, so it's been built specifically. It's not a converted villa, for example. It's been built specifically for the industry. It's got dedicated indoor play and sleep areas and of course shade and outdoor play areas. There's 4 age-separated indoor play areas, and that's designated for the entire preschool years. Good parking, low maintenance, cladding and roofing. So really a great building, and that's pretty easy care. As you can see, it's an attractive building. Enderley in Hamilton, it's well positioned for growth in our belief in the Hamilton East area, and it's got good access for parents of the children. Just going back to our first property, for those of you who maybe haven't been in the fund to date, the first property that we established the fund last year is at 24 Brent Greig Lane in Burbush, Hamilton. And again, this was a purpose-built property. It was purchased for just under 4.2 million and has a valuation of 4.25 million. Land area of 1,700 square metres, floor area of 640 square metres, give or take. Annual rent of $230K and a 15-year lease. So again, a good length of lease. And you can see from the photos that this is a really nicely developed property. Now, the tenant in both of these properties is the Rainbow Corner Early Learning Centre, and they're an established operator with quite a number of centres around the country, so we work closely with them to understand their operations. Moving on to the finance side of things, so the equity requirements and the bank funding. So for the current offer, the total funds required is 5.39 mil, and we've got bank funding at 1.94 mil with the ASB, who continues to fund the syndicate, and so therefore we've got equity requirements of 3.45 mil. So that's the current raise that we're in the middle of at the moment. In terms of the profit and loss forecast, so you can see here from this summary P&L that we've got the forecast rental income of 550K, and there is a rent contribution from the vendor, and then so total rent is 561K. We've got interest, some management fees and other fund costs. So you can see there how the 6.25% drops out at the bottom. What are some of the critical questions that investors are asking us at the moment? Probably the number one thing that is on the top of everybody's mind is how will a rise or an increase in interest rates impact the syndicate? So the good thing about this current transaction is it's given us the opportunity to effectively lock some interest rates in via a swap with the ASB, so that gives us some interest rate certainties. I won't delve into the detail of that, but I'd really encourage you, if you're talking to us about it, talk to James Copson about how that swap works and how that gives us some interest rate certainty. One of the other things is that the offer is 100% underwritten. So what that means is that regardless of how much equity we raise by the settlement date, we have an underwriter that will step in and ensure that the equity is there. Any unsubscribed equity is there at settlement and allowing us to settle. So there's no risk that you would subscribe to this, pay your funds across, and then we wouldn't be able to settle. Will the syndicate add new properties? Absolutely. Part of the attraction of a fund for people is that there are multiple properties and multiple tenants, and that gives us a split risk. So we will always look to add properties and continue to put quality properties into the fund. How liquid is an investment in the syndicate? We often get asked that question, what is liquidity and what is the process? So our experience is that there is good liquidity at the moment. We've had a couple of people cash up out of our Waddy syndicate, and those are being offered first of all to the existing investors, and they're going very quickly. And then after that, we'd offer it to our wider 8,000 strong database. And then after that, we'll go wider again through Syndex. So to date, we have had a very good track record with getting uptake from anybody wanting to sell. Is the monthly payout consistent? What factors will affect the distributed amount? To date, our syndicates have been very consistent. Our recent industrial syndicates and daycare syndicates have been very, very consistent, and we've been really pleased with the fact that we're in industries that are performing really well. So obviously it's not a guaranteed return, and I'm very transparent in that. What could impact it is a possibility, of course, that we get to the end of a fixed rate interest rate period and interest rates have gone up, and that could compromise returns. Of course, on the other side of that, we will always be working hard to increase the rents as allowed as well. So that is a natural hedge to a degree, but it's not a perfect match necessarily. To date, we've been really quite pleased with how all of our syndicates have been performing given COVID. Finally, how do I invest? Well, it's a four-step process. You apply for the units. Existing investors can apply online via Syndex, and then new investors are required to complete an application form, subscribe to the certificate, and of course AML, which most people will be familiar with. Then our team reviews the application and makes sure that everything's in order, and then we convey acceptance. The transfer of the funds, they have to be transferred by the 20th of May, and that goes into the limited partnership bank account. It doesn't go into an Erskine Owen bank account. And then finally, step 4 is the issuance of the units, and with a partner certificate confirming that your investment has been issued. Once again, we really are excited to have launched this, and great to see the uptake that we're getting, and it's great to see this early childhood daycare fund expanding, and we look forward to talking with you. Do feel free to get in touch with any of our team. You can contact myself, our asset manager James Copson, and Karen Bailey is our client relationship manager, and we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.